If you're in your 40s and you're not happy with the way you look and the way you feel, and you feel like you need to do something about your health and fitness, it's very obvious that you need to start a training program and a nutrition program. And that's where most people start, and that's where most people don't go beyond. And there's nothing wrong. In fact, it's very important to have a training plan and a nutrition protocol. But most people starting out, especially in their 40s, they start a training program or a nutrition program, and they find that after a couple of weeks or even a couple of months, they go back to where they started from. And I've identified at least 4 things you need to do that's beyond the training room and the kitchen that you need to work on to ensure that you see long-lasting results. And we're going to talk about a couple of those today. It's very common for people to say that they're just lacking motivation, or now they've got the motivation to start, they're going to carry on going. And one of the key things that's holding most 40-somethings back from achieving their goals in their fitness, in their nutrition, or any other area in life where they feel that they're lacking, it's their identity. It's who you are stepping in at that moment in time. So when you're in your 40s, it's very different to when you're in your 20s. In your 20s, you've probably got less responsibilities, you've probably got a little bit more energy, you don't have as many commitments, your body's playing for you rather than against you. You're like, your back's not hurting like it is when you're in your 40s. Your whole lifestyle is different. Your whole body is changing and things are going against you almost, especially if you're hormonally changing at that age. So it's important to take stock of where you are now as opposed to training like a 20-year-old. I'm not saying don't hire a 20-year-old trainer, but it's more likely that somebody in their 20s doesn't understand what you're going through and cannot empathize and relate to you and cannot then understand how to adapt your training, your nutrition, your lifestyle for you. But today I want to talk to you mostly about your identity. And one of the key things I hear, or one of the most consistent things I hear from people when they're starting out, or if they're struggling to start it, is I lack motivation, or I don't have the motivation to get started, or hey, I've got motivation now, let's get started. And motivation is great, but motivation is not what's going to get you the results you're looking for. If you only rely on motivation, then the chances are you're not going to get the results you're looking for, and you're going to fizzle out very quickly. And I'm going to explain exactly why. There's one word I want you to think about, and it's very common to hear this in self-help circles or in the guru space, and that is motivation is what gets you started. It's discipline what keeps you get going. And that's, I think, was either Zig Ziglar or Jim Rohn, one of the 2 greats of motivation, said that quote. But sometimes you'll hear people even say motivation is not what you need, it's discipline what you need. Now I think you need a little bit of both, but you definitely need to cultivate discipline. And the difference between the 2, and this is really important, the difference between motivation and discipline is motivation is an emotion. It's how you feel at that given period of time. Discipline, on the other hand, that's a mindset. That's systematic. Okay, you cultivate discipline, that's something that keeps you going for the long term. Motivation, like I said, being an emotion, that's fleeting. We sometimes feel good, we sometimes feel bad. And I came across this acronym a while ago when I did some coaching with a coach named Satema Gali Jr., who was a ex-NFL football player who became a life coach. He stated that you must learn to do things in spite of TEFMA. So TEFMA or TEFMA was an acronym for thoughts, emotions, feelings, moods, and attitudes. So if we allow our emotions, our thoughts, our feelings, our moods, our attitudes to dictate what we do, then we're never going to achieve the goals we want to achieve, because we're going to have bad days. We're going to have days where our mood's low. We're going to have days where our attitude's bad. We're going to have days where we just don't feel like putting in the work. We're going to have days where our thoughts are against us. We're going to have days where our emotions are against us, right? So those are the days where people will sometimes think, oh, I'm not going to do it today. I don't feel like doing it today. I'm going to give the gym a miss today. It's really, life is just too busy today. I'm just going to skip the gym. Or, oh, my mood is really bad. Oh, fuck it, I'm not going to go to the gym today. I'm going to just chill out and watch Netflix. And that's what's stopping you from achieving your goals. If you act despite or in spite of your TFMA, you're going to achieve your goals, because you're going to do what it takes regardless of how you feel, what your thoughts are, what your emotions are, what your moods are, what your feelings are. And that's what winners do. If you look at any Olympic athlete or any athlete that's achieved any success in their life, they will put in the work regardless of how they feel. They'll work hard, they'll train, they'll put in the prep work, they'll put in the nutrition. And I'm not saying you need to be like an athlete. All I'm saying is you need to start cultivating that discipline and that mindset, because that's going to then feed into your self-identity. And everything you have right now, everything you do right now, all the results you have are based on that, your self-identity. And human beings, we require that self-identity. And that self-identity then feeds into everything we do. So if your self-identity is one of a champion, of one of a winner, of somebody that always gets what they work towards, you're going to get things in life. If your self-identity is one of, oh, everybody else gets things, it's them against me, the world is against me, this is against me, that's against me, then there's no wonder that when you start to get the results in your life, it feels like everything's against you, because that's what you've manifested because of the identity you've put out there. And that's what you need to start changing, and that's what you need to start cultivating. It's that mindset and the identity of somebody that gets the results that you're looking for. Case in point, once upon a time I heard this story, and this guy used to go and do motivational talks around the world, and I can't remember who it was. And he used to go to these meetings and he used to do motivational talking, and there was another coach speaker that used to go to all of these events as well, and they'd meet each other at each of these events. And without fail, this particular speaker that he would meet every time he'd go to these events would always meet him at breakfast, and before he'd had breakfast he'd always have gone for a run. And this intrigued this guy, and he said to his friend, he said, how can you always go for a run regardless of wherever we are in the world? Before breakfast you always go for a run. And he goes, well, that's simple, I'm a runner. And that there is his identity. He identifies as a runner. The key phrase there is I am. When you say I am, that's your identity. So if you ever wonder what your identity is or what you identify as, stop and think every time you say the words I am. So if you say to yourself, I am lazy, then that's what you're going to manifest. If you say to yourself, and I hear this a lot, I am a foodie, or I love food. Listen, who doesn't love food? But if you identify as a foodie, then you're going to want to eat food more often than not. And that could be holding you back from achieving your goals. So it's important to really focus on the identity you want to create, catch yourself and become aware of what your current identity is, and then start working towards changing that identity. One of the key ways of changing your current identity, other than sort of becoming aware of where you are now in terms of the identity you have now and the identity of the person you need to become, is to consistently positively reinforce that new identity. So for example, every given moment you have, if you want to say you're somebody that always goes to the gym and you love the gym, then you've got to start always reminding yourself that that's what you do. Hey, I love the gym. So when you go to the gym, hey, I love the gym. I love coming here. I love working out. I love meeting my friends. I love that feeling I get after a good workout. Yeah, it's hard during the workout. Sometimes it's hard to get out of the house to get to the gym. But once I'm there, it feels amazing. And when I leave, I feel even better. And then when you have those feelings right after a workout of positive vibes and those endorphins and that dopamine rushing through your body, that's again, you reinforce yourself. Hey, I love the gym. I'm somebody that loves going to the gym. And you keep repeating these as affirmations in your head and in your mind, and you slowly but surely build that identity of somebody that has a identity of somebody who loves going to the gym. And this can apply to any other area of your life. So any area of your life that you want to change the results, look at the identity of the person you have now, and then look at the identity of the person you need to become, and then close that gap. That is the key thing. And you close that gap by constantly reinforcing that new identity. But one of the key things you have to do is you have to do it with discipline. You have to keep showing up, showing up, showing up. They say 90% of success is showing up, right? Even if you don't feel like working out, even if you don't have the right plan in place, even if you're a little bit injured right now, show up to the gym anyway, because you're telling your mind that you're somebody that shows up regardless of how you think, how you're affected by your emotions, your feelings, your moods, and your attitude. Because then you start breeding that mindset of somebody that just shows up regardless. And when you start showing up regardless of your thoughts, emotions, feelings, moods, and attitude, you're going to then create that identity of somebody that gets the result. And that is one of the most endemic things in society today. People just do what they feel like doing, right? And that's when we mess up. We've got to not do it only when we feel like we want to do it. We've got to do it when we have to do it. Show up regardless. Injured, show up. Tired, show up. Moody, show up. Not feeling like doing it today, show up. Bad mood, show up. Now, there are obviously times in life where things get in your way and you can't show up. You know, you can have a bereavement, you could have the illness or something like that, and that's cool. I'm not telling you to like show up regardless of everything that goes on in your life, but more often than not, if you're honest with yourself, some of the times you don't show up to where you need to be and do the things that you say you need to do is not because of something that's serious, or it's not because of something that you cannot avoid. It's because in your head you've created a story that you can get away with not showing up that particular moment in time, and that again will then reinforce the identity of the person who doesn't get the result. So if you want to get the result but you've got the identity of somebody that doesn't get the result, that's going to create that cognitive dissonance, and that's going to create that clash, and that's going to stop you from achieving the goals that you want to achieve. We have something in our brain called the reticular activation system. That reticular activation system basically filters out all the noise that we hear on a daily basis. Imagine like you hear everything, and you know, every time you walk through a crowd and you hear everybody's conversations, your mind is just going to be like, whoa, you're going to be like, there's too much going on right now. But your reticular activation filters out what's important, filters out what's necessary for you based on what you have programmed your reticular activation system to seek out. And if your reticular activation system is programmed to seek out the results that you want, then you'll start finding opportunities, then you'll start finding the things that you need to look for. It's like when you're thinking about buying a particular car, right? Let's say, for example, you want to buy a BMW 3 Series. Then all of a sudden you start going to the website, you start going to reading the brochures, but then all of a sudden, like every time you drive, you see that car, oh my god, there's that car again, there's a billboard for that car. The car was already and always there, but your reticular activation system is now focusing on finding that for you because that's important to you, and it filters everything out. You start to notice it more, and that's one of the reasons why you need to create the right identity, because once you have that right identity, your reticular activation system is going to start finding what it needs to find to get you the results. There's a lot more I can talk about in this topic, and I will do some more videos on this topic because I think it's really important that we understand how to shift our mindset to achieve the goals we're trying to achieve. And if that's something that you want to learn more about, then leave a comment or a like below, and I will make sure that I create more content based on this topic because I think it's really important. And remember, I said this is just one of other things that is holding you back from achieving the results in life that you think you want to achieve, and I want to cover those in topics too. So watch this space. I will be more than happy to help you, and if you want to jump the queue, and if you really want to find out like what could really be holding you back and how to achieve your goals in fitness and beyond, and you feel like the biggest thing holding you back is yourself and your mindset, then let's have a chat. Let's see what one of these 4 things that I've identified that could be holding you back, other than the action of training and nutrition, could be holding you back, and creating a plan on how to get over it. And if you want to do that, you know how to get in touch with me. Just drop me a DM or leave a comment below and that you're interested in having a chat with me, and I'll drop you a link to my diary, and we can schedule some time to have a chat, and we can see if that, you know, what I can help you with, and see if we're going to be a good fit to work with each other anyway. So with that being said, remember, you want to create the identity of a winner. You want to be somebody that does what they say they do. And once you realize in a systematic and disciplined approach to achieving your goals, rather than one that is driven by emotion, which doesn't work, motivation being that emotion, you know, like I said, you need it to begin with, but you need that discipline to keep you going. Once you do that, you're going to get the results you're looking for. You just need to course correct. You just need somebody to hold your hand and guide you through the process. You just need the right guidance, the right skill set, the right mindset. Once you have those in place, you're going to get what you want to get. And if you're struggling to get the skill set and you need to boost the mindset, that's when you hire a coach. You've got 2 choices. Well, you've got 3 choices in life, right? If you want something in life, you can either find out yourself the hard way how to achieve it. You can find somebody who's already achieved it and then can teach you how to do it, i.e. hiring a coach, and that's the shortcut. Or you can just talk about wanting something but not achieving it or not doing anything about it, and we all know where that ends up. You're going to not ever achieve the goals you want to achieve. You'll become miserable because you become a person who says what you want but doesn't take any action, and then that reinforces that identity in your mindset that you're somebody that's a loser, that says that they want to do something but they don't, that's lazy, that never gets what they want in their life, and then that manifests in all other areas as well. So hopefully this video has had value. If it has, drop me a like and drop me a comment below. If it isn't something that has helped you, let me know as well, because all the feedback is really important for me. All right, thanks for listening. Take care. Bye bye.